In Shakespeare's England, it was traditional to prepare a goose during the Christmas season, though really you could eat goose any time of year. In Shakespeare's plays, he refers to a green goose along with other kinds of geese. Now, of course, I don't think Shakespeare was talking about the goose itself being green in color. But what does that mean he was talking about? And what does it mean for raising geese in the 16th and 17th century? To find out more, I sat down with Dale Serjeanston, an expert in the history of geese husbandry for the Renaissance and Tudor period, and here's what she had to say.
Well, this is the fun about archaeological evidence, because to some extent it supports what we know from the historical evidence, and it augments it, and occasionally it contradicts it. In Winchester, it was a bit of everything. There were a lot of goose bones. Most of them came from places where geese had been eaten, which is what you would expect, because that's what most archaeological animal bones do come from, the remains of food. And so they would have bits of all parts of the skeleton. Some of them would be cut marked, some of them would have been butchered, some of them would have been dropped on the ground and the dogs would have got at them. But in Winchester, what we also discovered, and a lot of other people have discovered it, is that most of the bones came from adult geese, which shows that people were mostly eating geese in the autumn and later, when they were fully adult. And by the 16th century, just a few of them were coming from young geese. These are the ones that people called green geese, and they were killed earlier in the year. They were killed in the spring when they were about 12 weeks old. Then they had produced their first crop of feathers, and they may or may not still have had a skeleton that looked slightly immature. Incidentally, I discovered in the research for this that in Love's Labour's Lost, Ferdinand talks about green geese when he's referring to the spring, and he talks about them breeding. And he doesn't technically mean a breeding. He can't have done. He must have meant that just that they were around the place and they were feeding, and they'd been born and they were breeding, and so they were around the place. But I was quite amused to see that technically that was actually slightly wrong.
Yes, I was going to ask about that, because I knew it couldn't have meant a goose that was actually the color of green. So it meant that they were new and only just arrived. So these would have
Yes,
been,
yes, yes.
is it a
And
synonym for baby geese, or is
yes,
it
for young
just,
geese, yes,
yeah, any kind of young geese?
yes,
Okay.
yes. And green geese were not green colored geese. They were geese that had been eating green grass,
There
because
we go.
the geese that were killed in autumn were known as stubble geese, and they had been eating the seeds that had been left among the stubble after the harvest. Um, and this stubble used to fatten the geese up, and that was the time of year when the older geese were killed. But for a real delicacy, you ate green geese, which had been feeding on lovely green grass in the spring.
To hear more about the history of geese, including their pens, their diet, their breeds, and even some archaeological work Dale's done into the surviving artifacts of geese from Shakespeare's lifetime, you can listen to our entire conversation at CassidyCash.com/episode 335. That's CassidyCash.com/EP335. If you'd like to see bonus history related to geese, including period portraits, husbandry manuals, and more, be sure to support our show as a patron. Patrons get access to bonus history content related to our podcast that you can explore while you listen to our conversation. Just find the Patreon button on the show notes page to sign up and expand the extras right there on the website. That's it for this week. Thank you for watching. I'm Cassidy Cash, and I hope you learned something new about the Bard. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.